Democrats this week were eagerly awaiting the coveted endorsement from Nevada's Culinary Union. It's one of the largest, most politically active unions in the nation, but it never came. The union announced it isn't endorsing a specific candidate ahead of next week's caucus. The non-endorsement came just days after the union criticized Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All plan. This drew the uniquely retaliatory ire of Sanders supporters, who apparently flooded the union's Twitter feed and phone lines to the point where the union released a statement saying it was being viciously attacked by Sanders fans. Sanders himself condemned the behavior on Thursday. Harassment of all forms is unacceptable to me, and we urge supporters of all campaigns not to engage in bullying or ugly personal attacks. Our campaign is building a multi-generational, multiracial movement of love, compassion, and justice. We can certainly disagree on issues, but we must do it in a respectful manner. Now, when he was asked about the ordeal on PBS, Sanders echoed that message himself, but also questioned the nature of reality.
Obviously, that is not acceptable to me, and I don't know who these so-called supporters are. We're living in a strange world on the internet, and sometimes people attack people in somebody else's name. But let me be very clear. Anybody making personal attacks against anybody else in my name is not part of our movement. We don't want them. And I'm not so sure, to be honest with you, that they are necessarily part of our movement. You understand, the nature of the internet. It's a strange world out there.
Doesn't even know if they really exist. Now, let me get this out of the way. A candidate can't always be held responsible for everything their supporters do or say. But Sanders supporters have been notorious for this kind of thing for 5 years now. So there's a legitimate question here about whether Sanders has done or said enough to curb this behavior. Joining me to discuss are assistant editor at the Washington Post, David Swerdlick, and Republican strategist, Shermichael Singleton. David, Sanders has condemned this stuff repeatedly. But it keeps happening. Is there anything else he should be doing to call off the attack dogs, or is it really out of his hands at this point?
So, yeah, in that clip you just played, he did disavow those supporters, but it has been, as you said, widely reported since 2016 that there are a lot of Sanders supporters, including and especially online, who have an edge to them.
Yeah.
And so for him to have portrayed it as like, I don't know who these people are.
Right. Putting them in quotes.
Right.
In quotes,
no,
like
that's a notch too far. I mean, he, like you said, he doesn't control everyone's behavior. Of course. And there are people who are going to support him who are not going to do what he wants, and that's not his fault.
Well, and as you just said, this stuff is happening primarily online. It's primarily on Twitter and Facebook. It's anonymous.
Yeah.
Does Bernie raise a valid point that this could be Russian bots? This could be, or even Trump supporters?
It could be. I'll just say, though, that it happens to journalists. It has happened to me, and I'm in a less threatening and lighthearted way. I was once called a Hillary Clinton bootlicker for saying something on air that was critical of Senator Sanders. I was kind of like, wow, they care about the bootlickers. That's fine. But the reality here is that I think Senator Sanders can lean in a little more to making clear that he wants his movement to be a competition, not an attack on all comers.
And these guys
he
are
didn't
real.
do it in that interview.
Trust me, they're real. Shermichael, we can't talk about whether candidates are responsible for the worst of their supporters without bringing up the elephant in the room, Donald Trump. Unlike Sanders, Trump openly encourages bad behavior at his rallies. He's, praised a congressman who beat up a journalist. He promised to pay the legal fees of people who beat up, opponents of his. He personally attacks people on Twitter. There's no comparison. Is Bernie therefore getting a bit of a pass because Trump is worse?
I mean, I think so. I mean, but to me, he sort of had a Kellyanne Conway moment of alternative truths. Bernie Sanders was saying, I don't know if some of those people were really my supporters. Right. This isn't a new thing, Essie. We saw this in 2015 and 2016 with some of Bernie Sanders' supporters. And I think if the whole argument...
Get a better story.
Right, but I think the argument from Bernie is we're better than Trump, we're going to do things differently, then don't you think you should encourage some of your followers, including those online, to behave in a way that you're arguing is representative of your values, beliefs, and your candidacy? And he really isn't. By not saying anything aggressively strong, by condemning it, from my perspective, he's sort of softly saying, if you do it, I'm not going to really say much about it. And that's a problem.
Well, David, to that point, the Daily Beast's Sam Stein recently tweeted, lots of people at Warren and Pete town halls I talked to were weighing a Sanders vote, but said they were turned off by the culture and the crowds. I mean, this could just be the perception of the culture in the crowds, but could that perception be a problem?
The culture in the crowds of the Sanders supporters.
Yes.
Yeah, no, there is an edge to them, and here's the thing. What benefits Senator Sanders is that his supporters are more enthusiastic about their candidate
Yes.
than the supporters of the other candidates are about their candidates.
Yes.
That is one of the reasons he's leading this race right now. The enthusiasm, the numbers of small dollar donors. The flip side of that coin is that anytime someone criticizes Senator Sanders, or anytime someone says, hey, but I like this other candidate's plan, Buttigieg, Warren, Biden, you do get a flurry of criticism out there saying,
but he's
oh,
like
your
Trump.
establishment.
He's
Yeah.
Trump on the left. He, in many ways, he's sort of moved by a populist-esque movement on the left.
Well, listen, and I think as the woman at the table, I also just want to point out there's a particular brand of Bernie bro criticism that women are getting, and it's gross. Okay, David Tremichael, you guys are staying right there because I want your take on Nevada as well. And a little later,